Welcome back, everyone. This video is kind of a side note to my 1937 Briggs & Stratton restoration series. This is my this is an engine that I actually got from my grandfather just before he passed away. He was an antique engine collector and hobbyist, and this is one of the only engines he had left upon his death, and it was sitting in a rusted pile behind his shed. It was just sitting there, missing the shroud, but mostly complete otherwise. The engine was seized. It had water had gotten into the cylinder somehow, and it just seized up. The fuel tank was fairly rusty. So I had purchased a couple gallons, actually, of Rust, Evappo-Rust, which is a product I've used on many projects over the years. It's a very safe, non-toxic, easy-to-use rust remover. And it's safe for basically all metals because it doesn't contain any acids. It just uses an effect, I can't think of the term right now, but it uses a chemical process that does not involve acids. In fact, the stuff can be used as a cocktail mixer, though I wouldn't recommend it. Not seriously, don't do that, ever. No. Anyway, so I had run out of Evappo-Rust. The tub of Evappo-Rust that I had been using throughout this project had, finally become useless. And I had to remove the rust from the fuel tank internally. So those of you who have used Evappo-Rust in the past are probably well aware of just how safe it is to use on just about any material. And like myself, sometimes you've gone to an auto parts store or a hardware store and, well, they're plumb out of Evappo-Rust, or they just don't carry it. But they carry an alternative product that looks pretty much the same, and this is what they're going to sell you. And you're going to go to the counter and you're going to say, does this stuff work like Evappo-Rust? And they're going to say yes. Well, it does. It does the job. Actually, it did a fantastic job removing the rust from the bottom of this fuel tank. Well, sort of, kind of. I mean, believe me, it was a lot worse. It was really bad. We're talking Titanic bad. But I digress. So I actually I had the fuel tank sitting in the cradle like it is now, and I had my fuel sediment filter mounted to the bottom. This engine still had its original Tillotson fuel separator, which is a glass separator. Well, glass sediment filter. And I had just installed a brand new filter screen and seal on this particular filter. And I decided, we're going to leave it on. I'm going to close the fuel valve. Now, I hadn't really tested this device to see if it actually held back any liquids, but I wasn't really worried about it. I closed the fuel cock, and I filled the tank to the rim with my Rust-Oleum rust dissolver, thinking it's going to work just like Evappo-Rust. And, well, I could see bubbles coming out from the bottom of the tank, and it looked like the fuel valve was doing its job. Nothing was coming through until I walked away. I come back about 15 minutes later, and there is rust dissolver pouring not only from the fuel outlet port, which I thank God disconnected from the carburetor, because I would have a whole world of problems if I hadn't done that right now, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But rust dissolver was actually spilling from the brand new seal on the fuel separator. And I'm like, what on earth is going on? There's no way that new seal is leaking. What the heck? I mean, I can understand maybe the valve might need a little bit of, TLC, but what the hell's going on? Well, friends, I am telling you right now, Rust-Oleum rust dissolver does not make a proper replacement for Evappo-Rust. It doesn't, and here's why. And I've set up a visual aid for you guys to fully understand what I'm trying to tell you. Because if you're restoring something like this and you're reaching for evaporust and you see this stuff and you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to use this. Okay, let me get to the point here. You see, the fuel tank is made from steel. Okay? And these rust dissolvers and evaporust and other things are designed to do what? Remove rust from steel by breaking down iron oxide or some shit. Anyway, but they use two completely different chemical processes. Rust-Oleum, it turns out, uses a mild, I believe, a diluted phosphoric acid. Now, the phosphoric acid will remove the rust, and it works faster, it says in 30 minutes, than, say, evaporust, which can take hours. But there's a problem with that. And here's the problem. Phosphoric acid eats certain non-ferrous metals, such as pot metal, aluminum, possibly others. And the biggest problem with that, you're thinking steel tank, right? Well, yes. However, the fuel separator is made entirely from what appears to be aluminum. Could be pot metal. I don't know what it is. They had a lot of different metal allergy. God only knows what kinds of metallurgy they were playing with in the 1930s. But let me show you what it did to my fuel filter, my precious, beautiful Tillotson fuel filter. Now, I have taken the filter and just to do a test all by its lonesome, I put it halfway in a little solution of rust dissolver to see what's going to happen. Because I surmise, I hypothesize that this stuff damaged this filter, and I've just proven that that is the case. So when I had taken this device apart, it had a little bit of pitting. I mean, it was old. It had been sitting behind a shed for 30 years or so. But it wasn't like this. Now let me this is shocking. This has been soaking for about 2 hours. Maybe 3 or 4 hours. Now, only halfway. Now let me show you what's going on here. See, do you see the problem? Do you get it, what I'm saying here? Well, you can see that half of it is pitted, yes, and that's from the initial exposure from when I had let it sit for about 2 hours or so with the tank full. And the other side is after soaking for about 4 hours after that. And you can clearly see the problem. Do you see it? And it's actually, you can still see it's dissolving the metal as we speak. This hole was not there 2 hours ago. I assure you, this hole was not there 2 hours ago. Nope, it wasn't there. Now it is. I didn't put it there. Did you? I think you did. And you can actually see this is getting cloudy. It is dissolving the aluminum, or whatever the hell this is. That, my friends, is a problem. And that is why this part is now junk. See all this pitting right here? See all this pitting? That wasn't there when we started this project. That happened today, and it was because of this stuff. Evaporust wouldn't do that. Evaporust would attack only and only the iron oxide. It would do nothing to the aluminum. It would do nothing to any... This cylinder had actually soaked. I let it soak for about a day in evaporust, and it did nothing to it. And these were rusted pretty badly. These mounts for the flywheel cover. These were badly rusted. And now look at them. They look like they were made yesterday. Okay, I'm exaggerating a wee bit, but they look pretty good. Rust-Oleum rust dissolver. I mean, it has its applications. I'm not sure I'm ever going to buy it again. No, not going to happen. I'm very disappointed. Well, I'm disappointed and I'm pissed off because this part was perfectly fine before. And now, oh my god, now. Look at that. It ate all the threads out. You can't even see that on camera. But it ate the threads in that fitting right there. There were threads in there, I'm pretty sure, about 4 hours ago. Now there are none. It completely dissolved the fuel valve seat to the point where it no longer stops anything, and it's junk. It's for the birds. The pitting is so bad right now. Look at that. Can you see what I'm seeing? Yeah, and that is a brand new shiny ass hole right there. So, lesson learned the hard way. Don't learn from my lesson. Don't do this. Don't use this unless you're only going to be using it on steel and only steel. But this is what pisses me off to no end, because I read the instructions on the back and it says safe for use on iron, steel, aluminum, chrome, galvanized metal, porcelain tile, fiberglass, glass, auto cooling systems, and firearms. Folks, don't do it. Firearms? Are you kidding me? I can only imagine what this stuff would do to the bluing on firearm parts. But, hey, there's one thing it doesn't do that EvapoRust does, is it doesn't seem to leave that sticky, gooey film after. But that sticky, gooey film is actually kind of a good thing because it provides the rust something to protect it, at least for a moment, from flash rust. But don't buy this. If you're going to use it on mixed metals, just don't. I can't get this part back. I had to order a modern-ish Taiwanese-made reproduction because, I mean, I guess I could have bought a used one, but I didn't see any that I really wanted on Fleabay, so. But this antique, this 80-year-old antique is destroyed thanks to Rust-Oleum rust dissolver. So for now on, we're going to stick with EvapoRust and only EvapoRust, and that's it. Lesson learned.